Alright, here's a quick demonstration of how I mix up my sugar bricks or sugar cakes. It's not candy, it's just sugar. It's 6 cups of sugar and half a cup of water, or 12 cups of sugar and 1 cup of water. 12 parts sugar, 1 part water. But a little trick that I've added to my water mixture is I've taken some honey that the bees have made themselves, and I put in about a teaspoon of honey in this half a cup of water. Actually, it's in a mason jar, and I shook it up so that there's a flavor of honey in the water, which will go into the sugar, which in my theory that I'm making up right now tells me that the bees are less likely to discard the sugar as debris when I add it to the hive, because it smells like food to them and doesn't just look like something that needs to be tossed out of the hive. I've done this also by adding anise extract, which makes the bees recognize it as a nectar source too, right? So it's all about fooling the bees into thinking that it's actually food, which it is food, but pure dry sugar poured in over the top bars is often tossed out by the bees if they already have enough honey. But so I'm adding honey to the sugar, water, or whatever, to the sugar as a preventative measure. Hopefully they'll like it more and they won't think of tossing it out. So anyhow, I just put in my half a cup of water with some honey melted into it or mixed into it, and then I just mix it up with my fingers. I've used to do this with a stick, but I've discovered that it's just a lot easier to just put my fingers in there and squish it around, and it really, it's almost done just like that. Whereas if I use the stick, I end up, it just seems more efficient and quicker to just get it done like this. Now this actually seems a bit like there's not enough sugar. I've done this enough to know that I've got the measurements a little bit off, so I can tell it's a bit too damp. So I'm going to add just a sprinkle of sugar. But if it's done right, if it's measured properly and exact, it should, yes, it's still a little bit too damp. It shouldn't be damp. It's almost just like wet sand. It shouldn't be gooey or anything like that. The sugar isn't dissolving. It's just, you just want it to have enough moisture that it sticks together, and when it hardens. And that's borderline too much, still too much. Anyhow, and that's it. It's 12 parts sugar, 1 part water. Add a little bit of honey to the water, or add a little bit of anise, something that will attract the bees to the sugar and hopefully prevent them from tossing it out. This still seems a bit damp, but anyway, we'll just add more sugar. I don't know what I did wrong. I must have, maybe I only put in 5 cups of sugar. No, I put in 6. Yeah, okay, that's good enough. We'll just see what happens. I think it'll dry out eventually. So then I take this, just a little tin plate. This tin plate had some Chinese food in it. I dump it in, pack it down. Yeah, I can tell this stuff is a bit more damp than it should be. It shouldn't really be, it should just be damp. It shouldn't be wet. This stuff is more borderline wet. Yeah, so I don't know how this is going to turn out, but hopefully it'll be alright. The problem when it's too wet, it never really dries, because you don't really want it to, you don't want it to mix, you don't want the sugar to melt or dissolve at all. You just want it just damp, so that when it dries, all this granules of sugar are dry together and packed together like a hard brick. And there we go. That's one half of it, or almost half of it. I got another one. And I'll toss these into my hive on a cold day, not on a warm winter day, but on a cold winter day, when I know the bees are clustered down below tightly and they're not likely to fly in my face. That's it. Then I'll take this sugar and put it in my oven overnight with the door closed and the light on, and the light will produce just enough heat that it'll help dry out the sugar. And I find that it doesn't, my stove for whatever reason takes more than a day or a night, so I often will come by the next day and dump the sugar upside down, and it'll still be solid, but the bottom will still be a bit moist, so I flip it upside down and put it back into the plate upside down with the moist side up, so the moist side will dry quicker. And so I give it usually about 2 days, and I just slide it in, and off we go to the races.